Hello and welcome everybody. We're so glad you're here with us today. It is our usual Monday meeting, and today we're talking about psychic vampires and how you can avoid that negative energy. And if you have one, how to detach yourself from it and to heal from it. Today we have with us our usual Adam and Amanda and Rebecca, all here to share their knowledge and insight with you. Thank you guys for being here today with us. I appreciate you. And thank you all as the audience for watching. And if this is your first time finding our YouTube channel, we believe there's never an accident. Everything happens and it's intended. So please, if you find this valuable, please like and subscribe and feel free to share it with other people as well. So I think the first thing we want to talk about is what is a psychic vampire? Because a lot of people don't even understand that, and how that affects you. I know if you're an empath, then any kind of negative energy can affect you, right? If you're around someone who's very negative, if you're around, if your environment that you're living in has a lot of negativity to it. Also, just even the things you watch on TV, the things that you listen to on the radio, those can also affect your mood and your just your energy level, your vibrational level. And that's really what we want to talk about today is, if you're in a group and you're in this place and you're just feeling drained energetically, then that's probably a good sign that there's someone draining or that just a negative energy is so loud or so low for you that you're just being drained off. And so there's different ways that you can protect yourself from that, especially if it's other people's energy. Yeah.
Quick question. Are they also, like, I've heard of energy vampires. Is that the same kind of deal?
Yes.
Yeah, I thought so.
Yep. It's the same. People call it, I've seen it called like energy, psychic, vampires. Like, remember we talked about the movie The Celestial Prophecy, Celestial Prophecy, and it shows that really visual of when the guy's trying to be very persuasive. And if you're with somebody who's constantly trying to really manipulate, persuade you into their way of thinking, their energy is going to be really going into your energy. And that's kind of the same thing. If you've got someone who's very, also if there's people in your life who are narcissistic, it's always about them and what's going on with them. That can be as well, can be very draining. And so it varies, right? And a lot of times people don't even realize just some of the music that they listen to and the themes, the lyrics for that music. I remember when my girls were younger, I used to interpret for the hearing impaired, and they would go to concerts with me. And some of the stuff as an interpreter, we had to have the lyrics and we'd go through it. And after interpreting some of the lyrics, I would tell my girls, no, you're not listening to that music anymore. Because they're so caught up on the beat that they don't realize what the actual sounds are, right? And like one of my remember was like, you might as well kill yourself, tell your friends they should kill themselves too. They didn't even know that lyric was in there. They just liked the music. So it's kind of like that subliminal programming, right? That is in a lot of things. So if you're listening to something, even if it's a YouTube, like a lot of people listen to vibrational things on YouTube, if it doesn't make you feel good, if it makes you nauseous or it makes you just kind of tired, it's probably not what you need to be listening to. It's not the right vibration for you, your vibration. And it could be that it's a good thing, but your vibration level is higher than what that is. Right. And so you don't want something that's going to pull you down. You want something that's going to bring you up. And the other thing too is a lot of music is at the wrong vibration. It's been, taking one or two frequencies off for that reason. So it's just about, being aware of your own body and how things make you feel. Stay hydrated. That's a huge thing. But the other thing that I think a lot of people have trouble with is saying no, especially if the person that's draining you is a friend or family member. Using that two little word, no, no, I don't have time, no. And just being, very protective of yourself. It's okay. You have permission to do that and give yourself permission to do that. Being able to just kind of, if there's a lot of drama, I know we've got family members who love the drama. If there's not drama in their life, they will create the drama, right? And so being able to distance yourself from that as well. And, I mean, I have a friend who she's a good friend, but there's times when she'd call, it's like, yeah, I don't have the energy to talk to her right now. I'd call her back later when I knew that I had put myself up at a higher level. But if I was really through a lot of things, then that was like, not a good time for me to talk to her because I knew I would not be in the right frame of mind either. So it's things like that, just, um, and also being in a place where we always want to be proactive for protecting ourselves, um, proactive for how we respond to things, not reactive. So if you're around someone and they're making you react all the time, then that's another thing to kind of monitor that energy. And not everybody who's an energy vampire or psychic vampire, a lot of times they're not even aware of it. Some people are, but some people just they don't know. It's just what they do. They don't really understand what they're doing. They just do it. Right. So it's not like they're intentionally out to get you. So just being that. And then, if you're in a situation you can't extricate yourself from it, sometimes it's just a matter of introducing a lighter topic. Talk about something that's more fun or, not as like if it's a political heated discussion, you don't want to talk political with them, right? You don't want to talk religion with them. You want to go into something that's a little bit more, lighter. It could be something as, simple as, hey, what's the best dessert you've had lately? What's your favorite, whatever, just anything to kind of get them off track.
I love all those ideas, Pamela, because I use all those like at work. I'm very good at diverting attention to something else, and especially because I work with people who are in a lot of pain all the time, and so just to get their mind off of it, I'll talk about something else. I come in. I was talking with a friend this morning, and she goes, "Oh my gosh, Amanda, you're such a blessing for your clients." She goes, "I just hear the way you talk to them. You raise the vibration, like you lighten the mood. She's like, I can just picture your eyes twinkling and you're smiling, and she's like, I just I don't know if they know how valuable you are when you come in." I said, "Oh, I know they know how valuable I am. I don't know if the family knows how valuable we are at times, right?" And because I give them so much hope and joy, and they can be, they can be energy suckers too, right? And so I have to quickly manipulate time and manipulate the energy in the room when I come in. I can always gauge if they're having a good day, but I can actually feel it before I even get into the room. And so I'm like, oh, what am I walking into? Right. And I can tell by the look on their face. I mean, just everything. So when I come in, I really do have to use all my tools in my toolbox to lighten up the mood, to, change the direction of how they're thinking and feeling. And by the time I leave the room, even if I'm in there for like 5, 10, 15 minutes, by the time I leave, they're smiling, they're happy, and they're telling me thank you. Right. So I do also want to make a point about the music. Oh my gosh. So music, I am so sensitive to music, and some music will literally, and like, you're right. You have to feel how it feels in your body. And there's certain music, and I'm not just saying any kind of genre. I'm just saying like from each different types of, music out there. There could be certain things I'm just like, turn it off. I cannot handle it. Like, I don't want to hear it. And it doesn't even have to be the lyrics. I don't want to hear the beat. I don't want to hear the acoustics, whatever it is, because, Adam and I were just talking about this. I think it was yesterday, how they have changed the music to keep us in the lower vibration. I did meet this gal, and she has a friend who's actually her twin flame that she found out about, and he's actually a musical artist and phenomenal. And he is actually working on bringing us 5D music. So when you listen to him, it's just a whole different energy, and it's amazing. And that's the kind of music that I want to listen to really quick here in the future. Well, I want to listen to it now, but I want to be able to have more of that. And I think there's going to be more artists in the future that will be bringing out, that sort of music with the tunes and the tones that we need to raise our vibration and to keep us, in high vibrations. So those are just two things I wanted to talk about.
That's very good. Awesome.
Piggyback on.
Awesome, Amanda. But I do want to put out the warning though that if your vibration is really, really low, you could be listening to music that is actually good for you, but because your vibration's low, it doesn't feel right. Right? And a good test of that is if you listen to like the singing bowls, the Tibetan music. If your vibration is really, really low, that's going to feel really uncomfortable for you. But that's not a bad music. It's just that you've not raised your vibration to that level yet. So you might need to start something slower and build up to it. Right.
And then also you're healing too. And sometimes healing doesn't always feel good. Right.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. Something else I'd like to add. I think one of the most important things, and I used to not believe this years ago, but I have not turned on my television for at least 2 years now. And there was another time in my life where I didn't have a TV at all. Televisions send out a terrible, terrible vibration that we're totally unaware of. And it takes us down into that alpha level of consciousness because of the vibration, and it programs us. And we know what it's sending out now, just constant bad news. And it's not healthy, and if you really want to protect yourself, that's one thing you almost have to think about doing if you want to be mentally sound in this day and age.
I was going to say, like, most people don't realize, they say TV, turn on the TV set, but the word is actually tell a vision.
Right.
So they have someone else telling them what vision they would like them to see. And then if you think about the channels, they're also called programs. So they're actually programming you by telling you a vision that they want you to see. So if you are going to watch TV, you need to be incredibly cautious about what you're watching and be aware of everything that you're watching, and just don't leave something on in the background and just kind of watch it, because it is literally programming your subconscious mind. And unless you say, listen, everything that you're hearing, subconscious mind, just disregard it. It's not the truth, because it's going to pick it up and it's going to think it's the truth, or it's going to be looking for, hey, is this my reality? Is this stuff real? And it could just start programming you and you're not even aware of it. But you can use TV for good programming too. There's good programming.
You can enjoy shows that are on for sure, but an awakened person realizes that many of the things they're seeing are not even the truth. It's propaganda, it's not. But so many people, look at people that go to movies and they get so into it. They have to even leave the movie if something happens because they can't understand. It's only a movie. You watch, they get really caught up in it. So, that's important. But another thing I wanted to share that if somebody is really dealing with negative beings, like we started this off with, sometimes you have to take some radical steps. And like one time when I was married, one of the times, after I got divorced, I couldn't stop thinking about what this guy had done. And it was driving me crazy. It was like obsessed. And it was really bothering me because it was on my mind all the time. Well, I found this incredible psychic guy who used to work at the Monroe Institute as a facilitator. And over the phone, he pulled out the cords that was still connecting us. And it was like a death. I started crying because it was like he was dead. He had finally cut the cord and that was it. I could move on. So sometimes you have to realize you've got to take some radical steps if somebody is driving you crazy. Because some people can do that, And the other technique I like to use, if a narcissist or a psychopath comes around and tries to suck my energy, I use radical forgiveness, where I go to that place, which is the fifth dimension, and they don't really know what they're doing because they're working their program. They're programmed to be psychopaths or narcissists, and they're asleep and they're living in the 3D world. So how can you really stay mad at them? You just have to release them and let them go.
Yeah.
Radical forgiveness.
Yeah, you're so right about all of that stuff. And for me, music is so important now. I mean, I don't, even when I'm driving, I don't even have the radio on anymore. If I do have music on, it's very specific for a very specific reason. I probably 90% of the time I put on self-motivational stuff that I listen to. So if you're not subscribed to the People's platform or the Life app, that's where I get a lot of my stuff. So whenever I'm in the car, boom, that's on right away. And I'm just sucking that up and I'm just listening to it all. And it's going straight to my subconscious and reprogramming me from all the years of programming. And when I'm driving, if I'm not listening to that, I'm not listening to anything. I gotta tell you, sitting in a car with no music on and no nothing and just driving down the road, I mean, you can get into such a deep, open-eyed meditation, and you just have ideas just flowing, and find a way to record those ideas, whether it's, through Siri, hey Siri, record this in my notes, or whatever, like voice text it to someone else and saying, hey, I'm just sending you this as for a reminder or whatever. Or if you have a way to jot down the notes, but it's so critical, especially for me, when I'm driving now, and when I'm stuck in traffic, I'm like, oh, this is great. Stuck in traffic. And I'm not even being sarcastic about it. I actually like it because I get even more time to think, and I'm just kind of like, okay, well, what about this? And what about this? And I know, Pam, like, you sometimes hear some of these rants and you're like, what are you in the shower, or are you stuck in traffic?
The movement of the car actually puts us at the alpha level. So that's why we get really great ideas when we're driving and if we're not listening to the radio.
Exactly.
Behind it. Yeah.
Exactly.
The other thing to look at is, who are you connecting with, right? When we talk about reading, listening, and association. So what are you reading? Not just what you're listening to, but what are you reading and putting into your mind as well? But also, who are you associating with? Are you being around people that you can actually have positive, uplifting conversations with? Right? Because if you're not, then that's something you need to look at too. Because like my heart now, we go driving all the time and we'll just go for a drive and we are just talking about stuff. And if you're not in a situation where you're being able to have conversations with people, then it's even more important what you put into your listening or your reading part, right? Because you're not getting that positive from other people. So you want to definitely make sure you're putting it into yourself. Great feedback, guys. Anybody else want to contribute any other ideas or thoughts?
For me, I know it's just a vampire. The energy vampires is what I call them. And, I don't know if we talked about this, but there's people that can just do it. And for me, I mean, when I'm around one, I just know it right away. And you've got to find a way to cut it off as fast as I think you said already, Pamela, like learn to say no, learn to walk away, learn to, I think Amanda said, flip it around, like the conversation into something a little bit more positive. But if you recognize that you're around someone because you work with them on a day-to-day basis, you've got to figure out a way to manage that. And I think the first step is really identifying if you recognize that someone is an energy vampire in your life. And if they are, what can you do to change it? Because the longer that you just stay around that person and you do nothing, it is just going to magnify and magnify and magnify. Do you need to quit your job and move somewhere else? Do you need to find another way that you can manage that person? What is it that you can actually do to get away from that person? Because it's just going to get worse unless you deal with it, right? It's like, in the famous vampire movies, what's the common thing that you always see? You see, you have to kill them with a silver bullet, or you have to drive a wooden stake through their heart. Like, they're dealing with that problem, right? In the movies, and same thing in real life, you have to deal with the energy vampires in your life. Otherwise, they're just going to come and get you and literally just suck you dry of all your energy. There's nothing you're going to be able to do
You know what one of their favorite techniques is? Gaslighting. And if nobody knows what that, there was a movie called Gaslight, where this husband did all these crazy things and made his wife think she was going insane because she couldn't figure out what was going on. And no, people will do that to other people. They will gaslight them and make them uncomfortable, to throw off their self-esteem, their confidence, because they're jealous or they're just plain mean. And you have to be aware of that when it's happening. You know, if something makes you feel really bad when you're with someone, you got to say to yourself, how come I don't feel good when I'm with that person? And sometimes they're gaslighting you.
Right.
Intentionally.
That's true. And then there's other things, like sometimes it's just a matter of changing the vibration. There's some things, steps that you can take as an individual. So if you're home, like what we always do when we move into someplace new, one of the first things that we did were we would take lemons and cut them in half and place them in all the windows in each room. Because a lemon would absorb negative energy. And if there's negative energy, it actually becomes black. So we would do that and get that out. Of course, sage. You can always sage your home, sage yourself to get rid of the negative energy. Even laughing, right? Listening to the music, the good music, and laughing, because joy, the true laughter and joy, that dispels the negative energy. If you love plants, growing rosemary will absorb the negative and actually will sacrifice itself to defeat the negative. You know, so there's a lot that you can do that are just simple things, right? If you're in a place where you can open your house up occasionally, because that's, especially in today's society with central air, central heat, people rarely open their windows. They open the doors, and so you're stagnating all that energy. So being able to open your doors and your windows, raise the blinds, get some sunlight in, those things also affect your mood. And it's another way of dispelling the energy. So there's some really simple things that you can do. Be creative. If that means drawing or coloring, if it means cooking something, if it's things that bring you joy and make you happy are going to raise your vibration, which will help complete the circle. And so you don't have that ability or be as susceptible to the negative. And these are just simple things that you can do. If you think about it, when you were a child, what did you love to do? You loved to play, you loved to color, you might have loved reading, dancing. So you can still do those things as an adult. Somewhere along the way, if we kind of get told that, you need to grow up now. No, you need to be found joy in your life, right? Do what makes you happy.
One time I was flying to Honolulu and I had a psychiatrist on my flight who was very holistic. He said, oh, you should take Epsom salt baths as soon as you land to get rid of all that negative energy these passengers give off. Epsom salt baths. I remember he kept telling, he was really serious about it. He said, they're full of fear sitting there on the airplanes, giving off these bad vibes.
Right. And self-care is so important about raising your vibration, because if you're not taking care of yourself, then it's so much easier for you to be drained.
Right.
So taking that time for self-care.
Yeah.
Those are just a few tactics.
That they just let it go, and that is so sad that they just don't think about it even.
I love the laughing part. Lately, I've been starting to watch more stand-up comedy on like Netflix or whatever. And it just, not all of it makes me laugh, but there's some things that definitely make me laugh. And some of it's funny and some of it's inappropriate, but it still makes you kind of laugh. And so I think that's definitely really important is, think about this, ask yourself this question. When was the last time you really laughed? Like really, really laughed, like where you almost peed your pants, you were laughing so hard, like where you couldn't breathe because you're laughing so hard. Like, just think about that moment just for a second and how you felt. Because there was a skit that I was watching the other day, and I was just laughing. Like I couldn't even breathe. I was, what the comic was saying. I don't remember what he was saying, but it was just so funny. And just, if you can get yourself to that state and you can laugh like that, it's the best feeling. You always remember those times.
Well,
I
Norman Cousins did that. He laughed himself back to health
Mhm.
from, I think it was cancer, and he
Yeah.
wrote a book about it.
Yeah.
Went to the speaking circuit.
I remember that I don't know how many of you guys saw Lethal Weapon 4, but I remember I think I was in grade 10 or 11 when it came out. And one of my good friends, we all went to the movie theater the one day. I mean, we were young and we got in for that movie, and we started watching it. One of my good friends just started laughing. And Lethal Weapon is funny, but it's not that funny. And he just started laughing and it was uncontrollable. And he actually had to like leave the theater because he was laughing so hard. And then we all noticed that he was laughing so hard. So when he came back, he was, had this straight face. And then we just kind of looked at him and we all started laughing and he started laughing again. And he was like trying to keep it quiet. And so he was like rolling around on the floor, like trying to keep it in, like everyone's like, and then I couldn't stop. And like, I just remember that time because I was laughing so hard. And it's just something that I'll always, always, always remember.
Right, those are powerful moments. It's like if you watch any of the, especially the older, like the movie bloopers, where they're doing a scene that's supposed to be really scary or serious or something, and one of them will mess up and they'll start laughing, and then they can't get back on cue because they're all, it's like even if they're not laughing, they start again, and the person remember what they did the last time, and it starts again, And so sometimes the bloopers at the end,
Yes,
right,
they're more
are
funny.
more amusing than the actual movie itself was.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
I wanted to say that too. It's so funny when you can get that deep belly laugh. And a few weeks ago when I went to Costa Rica, my daughter, we were talking about like going to church and how people will say, after they say something, they'll say, well, God willing, right? And so she's like, Mom, have you ever heard that? And I go, oh yeah, I've heard that lots of times. And so I was talking about going to Costa Rica and going to the retreat center and all this stuff. And she's like, no, Mom, I don't want you going down there by yourself. I'm like, no, I'll be fine. Don't worry. Like, I'm meeting friends. I'll be safe. And she's like, no, what if you get kidnapped? I was like, I'm not going to get kidnapped. And and then I was like, I'll come back, whatever. And then there's like a pause, like a silent pause. And then she was like, God willing. And it was like the funniest thing ever. And we were laughing so hard, like my stomach hurt so bad. And then she and I were on the phone like a few days later, and we were kind of talking about the same thing because she was still curious about, or concerned about it. And she said the same thing again. And it was just the funniest thing ever. I mean, of course, those kind of things you have to be there, right? So it's not really funny to everybody else, but it was so funny to us. And we still crack up about it. And if I'm even thinking about it, I'll just start laughing if I'm thinking about it by myself. I'm like, what are you laughing about? I'm like, you're not gonna understand. It's just something funny.
That's too funny.
Anybody else have anything else they want to contribute to the conversation before we close out for the day?
There's a lot of good techniques in that conversation. I'm going to take some of them to heart myself.
We all need reminders sometimes, right?
Yeah.
God willing.
God
God willing, yes. Oh my gosh, so funny.
Thank you everybody for listening with us today. Again, if you haven't subscribed yet, please do. And if you like the video and if you think someone else can benefit from it, please share it with everybody. And if you haven't hit that little notification button down there, please do so that you can be notified when we're going live again. And everybody have an amazing day. And